Thank you, Rachel. Well, on this Tuesday night, we are now exactly, and I mean exactly 4 weeks away on a Tuesday night from an election in which today's polling news is very, very good news for the Democrats. Now, it's only today's polling news, so we don't know how long this is going to hold. But at this hour on election night, 4 weeks from now, we will begin to see if the Democrats are winning a possible wave election that the latest polling indicates could be developing across the country. A new report from Politico today finds that the number of seats in the House of Representatives that are solidly Democratic or leaning Democratic is now up to 209. If Democrats won all of those seats, they would then need to win only 9 of the currently 26 toss-up races in order to win back the House of Representatives. The Democrats' chances of doing that have never looked better than they look tonight. A new CNN poll finds that Democrats lead Republicans in the generic ballot for Congress by 13 points. That is the widest margin Democrats have held in that poll since 2006 in the midterm elections, when Democrats picked up 31 House seats and took back control of the House, while they were also picking up 6 Senate seats to win back control of the United States Senate, the first time that the Democrats controlled the House and the Senate since 1994. The new polling indicates that the battle over Brett Kavanaugh's confirmation has made Democrats even more likely to go out and vote in this congressional election to give power back to the Democrats. Today's polling shows the gap between Democratic and Republican enthusiasm has widened once again, now giving Democrats a 10-point advantage over Republicans. And that change is also accompanied by a widening gender gap that favors Democrats. Women now favor Democratic candidates 63 to 33. Democrats are competitive in districts that Donald Trump won overwhelmingly. In West Virginia, for example, in a congressional district that Donald Trump won by 50 points. The most recent poll shows Democrat Richard Ojeda 5 points ahead of Republican Carol Miller. Here is the Democrats' 30-second appeal to West Virginia voters in that district that has him in the lead tonight.
I'm Richard Ojeda, and I've been under fire multiple times in places like Iraq and Afghanistan. Tattooed on my back are the names of my brothers that did not come home. Now, my military record and my love of this country has come under fire once again by Carol Miller. How dare she, a millionaire who has enjoyed a life of privilege under the very freedoms that I have fought for. I approve this message because I love this country and I'm willing to fight for it. And you.
Joining our discussion now, Ambassador Wendy Sherman, an MSNBC Global Affairs contributor and the author of the new book, Not for the Faint of Heart, Lessons in Courage, Power, and Persistence. Also joining us, Jennifer Palmieri, a former White House Communications Director for President Obama and former Communications Director for Hillary Clinton's presidential campaign. Jason Johnson, politics editor at theroot.com and an MSNBC contributor. And Jennifer Palmieri, I want to start with you on the politics of this. The poll that I was just citing was taken over this past weekend, incorporating the after effects of the Kavanaugh nomination fight, and that poll looks very good for Democrats.
Yes. Nevertheless, she voted, right? Mm-hmm. I think that could be the repercussions that that the Republicans face. And, you know, I think women are probably going to be more determined to show up now than ever before when it comes to voting next month. But I also see something different, even in my own life experience, from women who are not that involved in politics, getting in touch with me to really express their confusion, even, let alone dismay, at how the Republicans handled the nomination. I think that there's two prices the Republicans pay. There's what Trump says and does, and then there's the Republicans backing him up. And I think a lot of women, who aren't that involved in politics, don't pay as much attention as, those of us who do this for a living, thought that the Republicans would not allow the way Christine Blasey Ford was treated to go forward, would not, after hearing what she had to say, vote to confirm him. And now that they did, I think you see this wave coming through America and how women are waking up to say, wow, this Republican Party really is not, is really not for me personally, and I suspect that they're going to pay a price not just next month, but they're going to have a long-term problem with women coming out of this.
And apparently Donald Trump doesn't know how to read the polling effects of the Kavanaugh confirmation, because he was out there today in a rally talking about the Kavanaugh nomination and basically leading the crowd in another chant of lock her up, and this time it meant lock up Dianne Feinstein. And Ambassador Sherman, this is the party that claimed that the Kavanaugh confirmation procedure should be all about due process, should be all about the presumption of innocence in the accused. And here is the president going out there leading the lock her up chant that he and his crowd invented, which of course is exactly the opposite of what the Republican Party pretended to stand for.
Yeah, Lawrence, you know, one of the things I want to say to everybody who's listening tonight and has friends and relatives and coworkers is that change doesn't come easily, and these numbers are very encouraging for a turnover, at least of the House, come the election 4 weeks from tonight. But I ran Barbara Mikulski's campaign in 1986. She was the first Democratic woman ever elected in her own right. She and Nancy Kassebaum were the only two women senators. We now have more. But I also helped Anita Hill in 1991, and I came across an old cartoon of Specter, Simpson, and Hatch, all sort of in thug outfits with, you know, battering rams and whatnot, with Anita Hill lying on the floor. It was a Baltimore Sun cartoon. And the caption was, "I don't understand why she didn't come forward sooner." My point here is that this is a story that has repeated itself in many ways and many times. And so my message to all the viewers tonight who want to see change, who believe there needs to be change, all the voters that Jen just talked about, if you have early voting in your state, go vote. If you can absentee ballot vote, vote now. If not, get out there and vote. If your registration isn't finished yet, get 10 young people to go out and vote. Millennials in the Pew data are shown to vote less now than any of a similar cohort previously. And so we really need to get out this vote, or these numbers will not matter in 4 weeks. And you can rest assured, whether it's a summit with the North Korean leader to prove how good Donald Trump is on foreign policy, or ginning up more lock-her-up messages to try to keep his base enraged, he will pull every trick out of the bag, and so we must persist.
And Jason, I have the video here of Donald Trump talking about Senator Feinstein and lying about her and attacking her and getting the crowd to chant "lock her up" about Dianne Feinstein, which I'm deliberately not showing because the only point of it, it's really ugly political pornography. But the point of it is that Donald Trump today and out there campaigning doesn't seem to realize that getting his people to scream "lock her up" about yet another woman who has done absolutely nothing wrong without any due process is exactly the kind of thing that is stimulating this Democratic enthusiasm.
Yeah, but it didn't stop Susan Collins, right? Like, I mean, like, Donald Trump knows what he's doing here. He knows that there is a significant portion of women in America who are going to support him no matter what he's doing. But I think what these numbers show is something that I anticipated all along. If it took Brett Kavanaugh for you to realize that the Republicans are a party of misogyny and supporting accused sex abusers, then you were really kind of late to the game. I think most people kind of knew that already. And his confirmation has just emboldened Democrats even more. But I think it goes deeper than just women being enthusiastic about the party. It goes into the fact that I think Democrats have been beaten down for so long by a candidate who they thought they should have beaten 2 years ago that they've become more strategic. You've seen absentee ballots in Georgia. Applications go up to levels that haven't been seen since Obama in 2008. You see an extensive ground game going on in Florida. You see the Ohio governor's race at 50-50, and this is a race that should have been a slam dunk for the Republicans. So I think Democrats have seen Kavanaugh's, hey, this is something to gin up our voters more, but it hasn't stopped them from engaging in the kind of on-the-ground strategy that you actually need to win, as opposed to making it a national election.
And Jennifer, we see things like Taylor Swift just suddenly entering social media with a political message about registering to vote, and huge surge instantly as a result of that, something that would have been hard to imagine a short time ago.
Yeah, and she's been famously, I mean, we certainly tried on the Clinton campaign to get her support, and she was somebody who stayed out of politics. And I was surprised at the reaction. Honestly, I wasn't sure if, even with as popular as she is, how much more juice there was to get out from women, from young women to register to vote. But that was phenomenal response, and and it's like really encouraging. Because we still got a month, we still got 11 months left to go. You got to keep the energy up. You got to actually turn out people to vote. As Wendy lamented, and to everybody to not be overconfident. Right. But I think you just see this. I just see determination is what I see, and how women have responded from the Women's March over a year ago, right at the time of the inaugural, until now. And, I hope everyone does turn out, but I feel like women are not the ones that are going to be one to let us down.
Let's listen to the way Senator Elizabeth Warren is talking to campaign rally crowds, this time today in Georgia.
Those Republicans, man, they got a lot going their way. Oh, you bet they do. They got the White House. They got the House of Representatives. They got the Senate. But I'm going to tell you this. I'd rather be us than them. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you why. They may have the money. They may have the power right now. But there's a whole lot more of us than there is of them.
And Wendy Sherman, she is right about the math.
Indeed. All of the signs are pointing in the right direction. So I don't want to be a downer here at all. What I want to do is to encourage people to take that determination, those numbers, and turn it out at the voting booth to make real the change that can happen here. This is going to be a tough fight, but courage always comes with a cost. There's usually a price to pay, and the price here may be the contributions you make to a campaign as a volunteer, the time that you give up to register voters, the time you give up to take people to the polls. But it's critical that we do everything we possibly can to make sure that the surprises that Jason was talking about don't occur, and that the good things that we're seeing, as he described in Georgia, as Jen described in what she's seeing out there in determination, come real.
And Jason, what's your sense of how long the enthusiasm can be sustained?
Well, that's the beautiful part, Lawrence. Enthusiasm and anger last forever, right? There are Republicans mad at Obama for 8 years, so Democrats can stay angry. I'll give you a perfect example. My class tonight, I was teaching my class at Morgan State, came here to the studio. Every single one of the students in my political reporting class are actually registered to vote. That wasn't even the case in 2016. They are registered to vote in a state where Ben Jealous is very far behind. So, and I didn't have to force them to it. I didn't offer extra credit. So, I'm seeing both here in Maryland, which is a blue state. I'm going to be in Georgia this weekend. I've seen a surprising number of people taking care of the practical things and remaining enthusiastic. For example, you've got a website being sent out right now in Georgia helping people make sure they're registered to vote, because Brian Kemp is notorious for erasing the polls and purging people right before the election deadline. So again, I see people being more dedicated, being more focused, not just marching and being happy, not just saying we're going to listen to black women, but actually getting out there, helping candidates and doing the practical work and fighting against voter suppression, which is what the Democrats have to do in order to make sure these close races actually turn into victories.
We're going to come back to all of our guests after we take this break. And when we come back,